Well, it says I'm in the right spot here. If this is anything like Raiders, we should have a gold idol. Let's see what we got. Oh. Well, this isn't certainly something Indiana Jones would want, but in these times, something I want. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. And by the intro, you know the movie I'm talking about is Raiders of the Lost Ark. What more could be said about this movie? Well, I'm going to try to say my thoughts on it, but this is a classic movie, obviously. I just rewatched this movie last week with my son. It's for his first time watching it. And this is one of those movies that I categorize as in my perfect movie list. This, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, stuff like that, I just think are damn near perfect, and there's not much really to be done to them to make them any better. They're just great the way they are. So let's get into a little bit. This movie was released in 1981 on a budget of $18 million. It was made, and it made 248 domestic and 390 million worldwide. This was a huge hit that summer, and obviously we know that Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones. We also have Karen Allen as Marion. We have Paul Freeman as Belloc, who's a great villain, along with the Nazis, obviously. We have John Rhys-Davies as Sulla. We got Alfred Molina in an early film role as one of the guys in the beginning of the film. And we got Delholm Elliott as Brody, kind of Indy's boss kind of guy. Nice guy, though. And the genesis for this film came from George Lucas. He was looking at something else to do, and Steven Spielberg had been interested in doing a James Bond film. And they were on vacation together in Hawaii after the release of Star Wars and one of Steven Spielberg's films, and he was telling George Lucas about how he'd like to do a Bond film, and George Lucas was like, well, forget Bond, how about this character? And he started telling him about Indiana Jones. Well, that wasn't the name at the time, and Steven Spielberg said, okay, let's do it. And they wrote a script. George Lucas and Philip Kaufman came up with story ideas. Lawrence Kasdan wrote the script. They shopped it around different studios. Nobody wanted to do it, which is kind of unfathomable considering George Lucas had Star Wars, which was a huge hit. Steven Spielberg had Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So these guys were kicking ass and taking names, but nobody wanted to give them money. Finally, Paramount agreed to give them the money they needed to make the film. And as we know, the movie starts off in South America with Indiana Jones and a bunch of guys going through the jungle. And they come upon a statue, and some of the guys take off. And he's left with two guys. One's Alfred Molina and this other guy. And they find this opening in this this cave in the side of this hill, and the other guy, not Alfred Molina, the other guy pulls a gun at Indy, and he uses his bullwhip and takes it off of him. And it's just Alfred Molina, and he takes off through the jungle, and Alfred Molina and Indiana Jones go into the cave. And there's booby trap. Well, they run into tarantulas, there's booby traps, and we finally get, after some, they use the bullwhip to swing over this pit in the middle of their walkway here, their walk through the cave to the back. And once they get to this room that opens up, there's this gold idol on this rock pedestal in the middle of the room. After maneuvering some more booby traps, Indiana Jones gets to the idol, takes it off the pedestal as he puts a sandbag on, but unfortunately it triggers a booby trap and the cave starts falling apart and they start running. And when they get to the pit in the ground, Alfred Molina tries to screw Indy, takes the idol and takes off. He gets killed by a booby trap. Indiana Jones finds him, takes the idol back, and this is where the famous scene where he's chased by the boulder and he dives out of the cave, and that's where we meet Belloc. Belloc's waiting for him with some native tribesmen surrounding Indy, ready to kill him. And Belloc takes the idol, and Indy takes off, and Belloc sends a tribe after him, and there's a great shot, I always laugh at it, where Indy's running down the hill towards the river, and they show all the tribesmen behind him chasing him, and he's screaming for the pilot to start the engine, and he gets on the plane. They get out of there safe and sound. But this is where we're introduced to one plot point for Indiana Jones, is that he doesn't like snakes, and that comes into play later on in the film when him and Marion get thrown into get trapped in the pit where the Ark is kept. This is when we're introduced to what Indy does for a living, for real, and he's a professor at a university, but he also goes out as an archaeologist looking for artifacts for the museum. And a couple FBI, we were introduced to Delholm Elliott's character, Brody, and he says there's some FBI guys here that want to talk to you. And they start telling him about how Hitler is has some of his troops digging outside of Cairo. And they're like, what do you think they're looking for? And Indiana Jones is like, they're looking. It sounds to me like they're looking for the Ark of the Covenant. And he explains, the Ark is where they kept the broken stone tablets that Moses brought down from Mount Sinai. If you believe in that kind of thing, that's what Indiana Jones says to the FBI agents, and he explains to them what you have to do to find it. You have to go down to the Well of Souls with the Staff of Ra, with the medallion at a certain time of day. The sun will go through the medallion onto the map room floor and show you where to dig. So they send Indy after this Ark of the Covenant to find it before the Nazis get it. And he has to go find Marion. And when he shows up at Marion's place, she owns this bar. And when he shows up, she's a little cold towards him because they had a personal relationship that ended badly on Indy's part. Indy kind of just went away. And she's pissed about it. And she lets him know. And she goes, I'll tell you what, you come back tomorrow and we'll see if I can find a medallion. She had it around her neck the whole time, but she doesn't tell him that. Indy leaves. A bunch of Nazis show up with their goons, start threatening her if she don't give them the medallion. As we know, Indiana Jones shows back up, and we get an extended gun battle and fight that breaks out, and the bar burns to the ground. And Marion says to Indy, "Now we're partners. Basically, we're going to do this together. We're partners now." And this is where they go to Egypt, and we meet Salah, who's Indy's friend, who's been his friend for a long time. You can sense the camaraderie. Yeah, you can sense their friendship. Sorry, I can't talk right now. Blech. And Salah knows where the Nazis are digging. And we have the chase through the streets with Marion and Indy. The Nazis find them to where they are in Cairo. And we have the famous scene where Indy shoots the guy with the big sword. And that was actually thought of on the day that I wasn't actually planned or in the script. Harrison Ford had become ill, and he said to Steven Spielberg, what if I just shoot the guy? And it's become a very popular moment in the film. Marion gets kidnapped by the Nazis and taken out to where they're digging for the Ark of the Covenant. And Indy and Salah go out there. To find out where the Well of Souls is. Indy goes down in the Well of Souls, puts the Staff of Ra in there with the medallion that Marion had given him, and he finds out exactly where the Ark of the Covenant where it is. And they immediately start digging. Some of Salah's men start digging, and they find the opening. And the floor is covered in snakes. And Indy and Salah go down there. The Ark gets raised up. The Nazis show up, throw Marion down in the pit with him, and seal it up. Which is a really great scene because Indy's terrified of snakes, but he has to figure a way out of here, which he does. And then once they get out of there, there's that scene at the airstrip where Indy has to fight that big Nazi. And once he takes care of him, there's that famous truck chase, which is very well edited. The action scenes in this movie are very well shot and very well edited. They're exciting. You can see what's going on. Steven Spielberg's a master at that, no doubt. Indy gets the Ark back. Him and Marion hop on a ship that's going to take him back to America. They get intercepted by the Nazis, and they take Marion back. Indy follows them to this island, and Belloc wants to perform this ritual to prove that the Ark is viable and it possesses powers. And even the Nazi commander who's with Belloc even says something like that. He goes, I don't really feel comfortable performing this Jewish ritual. And Belloc's like, well, would you rather take it back to Berlin, try to open it in front of your Fuhrer, and nothing happens? You think he's going to be happy about that? And he agrees. They relent, and they go out on this island, and Indy intercepts them and threatens to blow up the Ark, but he doesn't want to kill Marion, so he ends up not doing it. He is captured by the Nazis. They tie him to a post, him and Marion, and Belloc starts performing his ritual with all the Nazi men around and the commander. And at first nothing happens, and people start laughing. Like some of the Nazis start laughing at him, like, yeah, it's just fairy tales and hokum. And all of a sudden stuff starts coming out of the Ark. And Indy tells Marion right away, don't look at the light. And at first it looks all pretty and nice, and then all of a sudden, all the Nazis, whatever this power that's coming in the Ark kills the Nazis, Belloc, and everybody there except for Indy and Marion because they won't look at it. And when the Ark's done doing its thing, the lid slams shut on it, and Indy and Marion are saved. They take it back to America, but unfortunately FBI confiscate the Ark, and Indy's like, those fools don't know what they have, and him and Marion have an exchange. At the end of the movie, they show this old man pushing the Ark in a wooden crate, through this big warehouse filled with wooden crates, and that's the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. This movie's a classic, obviously, like I said at the beginning of the movie. I love this film. I loved it since I first seen it as a young boy. I watch it once a year now as an adult. It's a perfect action adventure film. Harrison Ford is great. All the actors across the board do awesome work. Steven Spielberg is on point with the direction. The only downside to the movie now is some of the effects. There's a few effect shots that look dated, but you can't fault the film for that. It was made in 1980. I mean, what are you going to do? They were constricted by the effects at the time, and they still look great, but you can tell they're dated and they don't look as convincing as they did years ago, especially when you're watching it in high def. But I would rate this movie a 10 out of 10. I love this film. I have no complaints other than a few dated effect shots, which I will not take any points off of the movie for that. Other than that, that is my Raiders of the Lost Ark review. 10 out of 10 for me. What are your thoughts on this movie? What is your favorite Indiana Jones film? Is it this one? Is it Temple of Doom? Is it The Last Crusade? Or is it Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Mine is Raiders. I like Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull's okay, but it was definitely a step down in quality from the original three. But that's it for me. I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button, join me here. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think of this film. And that's it for me. I hope you all take care of yourself, have an awesome day, and I will be back really soon with my 90s, my favorite 90s horror movies. Thanks.